Hello, everyone. My name is Hank Setala.
Aloha, I'm Brian Daniel.
Aloha. He's not in Hawaii right now. But anyway, we're here with an episode of Midnight Meanderings. So, welcome everyone. Brian is back from some of his travels, and we actually did a live stream just a little bit earlier today, and we kind of got the streaming bug back in us. So, here we are with a very impromptu episode of Midnight Meandering. So, I'm sure people are not used to seeing us on recently, so it might take a while for people to tune back in. But welcome, welcome, welcome. And we are going to kind of focus a little bit today on talking about Spark of the Phoenix and kind of like what all that is about and how Brian came to create this amazing experience that's coming up. But what should we do? Talk about that first or just kind of catch up first? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we can kind of talk about that. I have some really cool stories for my last walkabout, but yeah, we can definitely go into how I created the Metamorphosis
Yeah.
program and this class, the Spark of the Phoenix.
Yeah. So we'll
Uh,
break today's stream into two parts. Our first part, we're going to talk about Stream of the Phoenix because that's kind of like more time sensitive since it's like this weekend. And then
yeah,
we'll get into the walkabout to the Florida Keys and the thing of kings and all kinds of fun stuff. So if you have time, like stay around for two parts here. And we have Amber tuning in. Hi, Amber. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, we kind of, I totally scheduled it wrong. I scheduled it for Saturday at midnight. So I told Brian, well, maybe that's a sign that we should do another one on Saturday. And we're going to just
yeah.
get back into the swing of streaming. So, and we always love for these to be interactive. If you do have a question, a comment about anything, feel free to go or comment about it rather. But this very first part, we're going to be talking about Spark of the Phoenix and how Brian has taken the culmination of his world travels from Mexico, Australia, Hawaii, all these places, and has formed like a fast track program, if you will, of metamorphosis and change.
So how I created this was actually pretty interesting. I've always had a hunger for knowledge. I've doggedly pursued it and adventure and experience. And then, I started really, I wanted more. I wanted to be more. I wanted to look at what possibilities there were. And as soon as I started clearing beliefs that no longer served me, as soon as I started opening myself up energetically, as soon as I started opening up my mind, I created this whole new reality, and I'm always looking to improve. It's a constant improvement, always working towards a better future, and always being the student. So
That is
that
so important. Always being the student. I just want to reemphasize that because that's something from our teacher too, that he always looks at everybody in his class as just a brother, on the path. And maybe he knows a trick or two to show you, but we're all in it together and we're all like each other's students and teachers at the same time, really.
I I can't remember where I heard this, but there was a martial arts master, like really, really next level, top level, very renowned master. And when he was buried, instead of getting buried in his black belt with all the honors, he wanted to get buried in his white belt to remind himself and everybody that you are always the student.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. So, anyhow, go on with how the program came to be, and also I think a part of this is what made the time now finally for you to start offering it.
The desire and drive for change sent me down all these different paths looking to how to become more, how to open myself up for more possibilities, and that divine will to craft things and create things the way you want. But that's in one of the next higher level classes, divine will. We'll talk about that one later. Can't give you everything in the first one, right? But no,
Well,
it,
it's
it's
only two
really
days.
it's not about saving the good stuff for later. It's really about being able to fully understand that. And the first class, I'm going to burn to the ground anything in your life that doesn't serve you. I'm going to give you a book of matches and a whole bunch of gasoline, and we're going to set all the old stuff on fire, uh, and open you up to the amazing possibilities of what is possible. Uh, the so my determination, my drive to improve led me to all these different modalities and little tricks and tips and reframing things. And I realized, wow, these worked for me. And I tried a lot of different things. Some things didn't work. Some things worked really well. Some things worked for me, but might not be applicable for others, or it's just ineffable. Like I can't take you to the top of Mauna Kea right at the right sun angle so you can see something amazing. You have to be there. I can't take you somewhere and have the spirits tell you what they told me. Your path is your path, but it's just as amazing. It has the potential to be just as amazing as my path is. Uh,
Yeah, and I think for your path, the thing came down to it was really trust because you left Cleveland with like virtually, you know, just a backpack, one suitcase, and not even. Well, I think you knew kind of a place where you're going to stay, but you kind of just had the faith and the trust that things would work out. And sure enough, you went from place to place, and everything just unfolded for you. And that's like a huge key. And I think with the workshop is people's ability to start trusting themselves and trusting that the universe will create as you start to take that leap of faith. It reminds me of Indiana Jones and that one thing where he had to take the leap of faith and
oh
then there
yeah,
was a path in front of him. It's like that. It's like you have the ability to take that leap and all you need to do is start having the benefit of the doubt and then you can have your own experience and have your own faith. You're not buying into somebody else's point of view. You're having your own experience around it.
yeah, exactly. Uh, I had an experience. This was in 2018 where I was in the stock market. I started out with $1,000. By the end of the month, I had taken that $1,000 and grew it into $50,000. At that point in time, my brother and I did the calculations. I would have been well over $1 million within 3 to 6 months if I had continued at that rate. I'm like, I'm there. I knew it was possible and I achieved it. I am financially free and I won't ever have to worry about money. And it gave me this really amazing, beautiful opportunity because I'm like, okay, well, I no longer have to think about what I need to do for money. What do I need to do to bring income in so I can survive? That's taken care of. So what do I desire in my life? What do I really want in my life? Got to write that one down. That's good. Uh, like no, I'm constantly taking notes for what I want in one class or another class, and uh, but so I got that. I'm like, okay, what do I really desire to have in my life? What do I want my life to look like? And it looks like exactly what it looks like now. I have been, I want like, okay, I want to travel the world. I want to teach and heal. I want to help people. So I mean, pretty much how much of that is already checked off the list without that money? I'm traveling the world. I'm kind of that archetypical old man on the mountain that people
Old
seek
man. Well, you
out.
are growing that beard. I think I saw a few gray hairs today when I saw you in person. I don't know.
A little bit of wisdom in there, a little bit of wisdom.
Oh, the wisdom looks good on you, brother.
Well, thank you. Uh, so I have been sometimes literally on the mountain. When I climbed Wollumben, I I had a lot of people coming up to me for healing or advice, or they just somehow knew. But back to the story. So I realized that I get to choose what I want my life to look like. I can intentionally put it together in uh, a, whatever I want. And so then all of a sudden, the market crashed and I lost it all. And I'm like, oh no, now what? I had my life figured out, and now what do I do? And I got the message, go, just go. I'm like, well, how can I do that? Like, I don't have the money. They're like, just do it. So I took the little bit of money I had and I went to Mexico and had an amazing experience. And then that led to connections where I headed to Australia. And that, from Australia, it just doors kept opening up. And even though financially I had almost nothing, there was times where I had no cash. I maxed out all my credit. I had no cash reserves in my pocket. Uh, but I wasn't afraid because I was always taken care of. And no matter how many times I lost everything and started over again, lost where I was staying and moved somewhere else and had no resources again and was back at flat zero, I proved to myself that I can do it. I don't have to worry about, oh no, what if I lose everything and have to start life over? I don't think I could do that. No, I know I could do that. Like I've done it over and over again. In Hawaii, multiple times I started with zero and kept faith. And right at that last moment, opportunities opened up. Abundance flowed to me in ways that I would have never expected. But because I was in that state of allowance, it happened. And, so when all that money went away, I thought, oh no, but it showed me what was possible. So that money opened up the way I could think. It, made me put off those, simple little things like, oh, I'm not going to have enough. Well, okay, now I have more than enough. What do I want to do? And it really kind of framed it for me in a very different way where I could go, oh, okay, money's not a problem. Money will always be the problem until it's not the problem. So
Right.
uh, I put the money off to the side and I was able to go, hey, here's what my heart desires. Here's my passion. Here's my drive. Here's my talent. And I've helped many, 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 many people all around the world with many different things. Many different things. It's not, so as I was going through the Wild Success programs, they talk about, well, what is your target market or what is your target audience or what is your specialty? And it's so hard to say because I've helped people with so much. A lot of trauma, unfortunately. A lot of people have a lot of trauma, a lot of blocks, clearing a lot of blocks. So it's, so then, I was going through this program recently and I'm like, okay, what do I call myself? How do I market myself? And it came to me, master change facilitator, because that's really what I do. That's what I am. And then so I was thinking, okay, my totem uh, is the eagle or the thunderbird, and that came to me in a vision. And then in other work, the my power animal is the jaguar. Uh, but all of a sudden, it came to me, the phoenix is my healing totem. I was thinking about that, and our total, and I started asking people this, and it was a very interesting question. So, what totem animal would represent your healing practice? And I'm like, oh, wow, the phoenix, because I burn people's old paradigms to the ground and they rise again from the ashes.
Right.
So, I'm
And I
like, yeah,
loved in our conversation earlier today, I on my streams where I have one called Take the Leap on my YouTube channel, and I talk about how our lift into ascension or the next dimension is more like a hot air balloon. It's not like a like jumping off with a parachute. It's like a hot air balloon, and all the little bags that are weighted, what your program does is you're taking the dust from the ash of all that heaviness and using that for fuel to the fire that lifts you into the possibility. Like the things that were the trauma drama in the old paradigms can become fuel for your propulsion forward. And that's the real nature of that transformative type of energy that you're talking about.
yeah. Yeah, that was actually a funny conversation earlier. I'm like, oh yeah, my healing practice is like a hot air balloon, like the Hindenburg.
Yeah,
Your
then
whole
you have to go
paradigms are
that.
gonna phew. So
No, well, but in all those old paradigms, like, and Brian has done a lot of access and things, some another modality that I practice, that it's like these things from our past and these beliefs that create these like glass ceilings of limitation, and you don't even realize that you're stuck. Like, just to give people one example of a weird thing that is maybe in your past too, like money is the root of all evil, or money corrupts. So what if your belief is, if you have a lot of money, you would be corrupt and you would be an asshole? So you, like, even though you're consciously looking to create money, there's a part of you that says, I don't want it because I don't want to be evil. Or rich people aren't really happy, so I would rather be happy than have money. And there's just, like, all these weird little things that you might not even think about that have a huge influence in how your reality shows up and what you're bringing to yourself.
yeah, this is actually going to be in the class, I think maybe. Uh, the how much of oh yeah, I know exactly what section it's in. How much of your likes and dislikes are your own? How much of it is what your family, your parents told you? We can't afford that. Oh, you don't like that. Oh, those people aren't nice. Oh, that
What will the
place is not
neighbors
nice.
think?
Yeah, so how much of that is something you're told in the store? Oh, we can't afford that. Oh, that's too tough. That's, that's for other people. Instead of, giving you this, infinite possibilities and living in possibility, they're living in limitation. And so that's, a big thing I focused on. When am I living in limitation? When have I put myself in the prison of the mind? So I found myself even in, paradise, the heartbreak has hit, and um, instead of experiencing this amazing place I'm at, I'm there moping in the prison of the mind, going, oh, I'm just too heartbroken to do anything. And then you go, wait, I'm in an amazing place. Well, really, everywhere you go is an amazing place. It's not the place, it's what you make of that place. I've been in some really, really cool places, and I've been in some pretty rough places. But it's having that childlike wonder about it, letting yourself see the possibilities, letting yourself experience and get lost in the wonder of life. That's what keeps it interesting. And that's actually something I found out was a major fear. You always tell me that I live in the drama. And I realized through meditation, when I was in the Florida Keys, my tapped inness went off the charts. I was having full on conversations with myself and going like deep, deep inside uh my subconscious mind. And I squirrel, I'm sorry.
Well,
That loud
probably
sure.
because I was
Well,
reading a comment that had nothing to do with what you're talking about, and I probably squirreled you because I was reading it. Sorry about that.
yeah, I picked up on some energy strength. So what was I saying a second ago? Sorry. Like I was
The Florida Keys that your
oh yeah, oh yeah,
awareness went
the
off of it.
energy was so powerful. It I was tapped in. I was seeing things and hearing, like things way beyond what I ever could. And it just opened me up. It recharged me being out in the sun, being in the ocean, and swimming every day in the ocean. So valuable, so incredibly valuable. It's like smudging yourself. It's like cleansing all that heavy energy off in a salt bath in the ocean, which is absolutely amazing. So when I was driving, and of course I was driving for 14 hours straight, so I just kind of turn in and meditate. So you always tell me that I'm living in the trauma and drama, and I realized I had a lot, of that. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. But then it came to me. I'm like, oh, I'm afraid that if there's not trauma and drama in my life, or I was, that I would be bored. What would I
Mm.
do? And think about this. Okay, I want, a block of gold, so you hold your hand out and boom, a block of gold appears. Well, seems kind of boring, right? All like whatever you want, just boom, appears. Like, okay, so boom, 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 boom. How long before you've done everything and you're bored with it already? But then on the drive, I tapped in and I like fully experienced what's possible. And so it's not just snap and it appears, it's you're going in and energetically painting this masterpiece with your mind, with your energy, with your divine will. You are creating this reality you want. It might take an infinity to design one of these masterpiece artworks that you create, but that's what keeps it interesting. On this level right here, where this awareness is at, we don't see all that masterful brushstrokes of the artist's paintbrush. But down here, we just see it instantly actualize. It's there. Boom. But up here, where our true potential is, we are creating every molecule, creating every atom, putting everything in the exact right order. And no, it's not boring. Does a master artist find their painting boring? No, it's their passion, it's their drive. It's what gives them motivation. So all of a sudden that let me shift that idea that if life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory, I won't be bored. I will be enjoying it on a whole next level that I never thought was possible. So that was a really interesting uh, uh, realization, epiphany that I had while driving. Like, wow. And I felt like I was out of my body for half the time I was driving. But the information I got was amazing. Just going over the Florida Keys, from driving from Key West up until Key Largo and crossing over onto the mainland, it was so powerful. Oh, Deanna popped in. Thank you. Yeah, it was a really cool example, and uh, that yeah, it just showed me. I'm like, wow. So yeah, the amazing information I got while driving through the Keys. And thank you for the comment about the beard. I appreciate that.
And Amber's comment was about your hot air balloon explosion, I believe. She was
Oh,
bringing up that she had a hot air balloon Halloween costume for her wheelchair at the time, but I don't believe Amber needs the wheelchair anymore. So that's wonderful things. And for people, when we're talking about the Spark of the Phoenix, we were just kind of giving some backstory as to how this came to be offered. This is like a debut beta test, and then we're going to get to Brian's Florida Key story. But if this is sung to your soul in terms of what Brian is talking about and what he's offering through the program, you can check out emergenceofbeing.com/spark. That will take you to the landing page. Or if you're friends with him on Facebook, he'll send you the link. We have a couple people driving down from Buffalo for the class. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's also available on Zoom. So if you can't make it, you can always Zoom in and take it virtually. But that's the Spark of the Phoenix. And there's so many things that have come together. Like you say, that masterpiece. Like when you think about actualization, when you put out what you'd like to create in the world and something shows up, how many other things had to happen throughout the cosmos to that moment for that thing to even be there, for it to exist? There's so much happening, and time is all simultaneous and all that. There's so much going on from the ancestry of the world for even like a billboard to say the right thing at the right time when you ask a question and that provides the answer. How much brush strokes did it take for that to line up the way it did? And that's how
yeah.
magical the universe is. And give ourselves some credit of how magical we are. It's not a coincidence when things show up. You ask a question and there's this cool awareness and this thing that's so like, well, how could it not be your answer? But we dismiss a lot of that away because we're taught from our parents, oh, that's just in your head, oh, that's just a coincidence, oh, that's just this. But it's so much more if you are willing to perceive, know, be, and receive it.
Yeah. So for an example, it was when I was pretty much ready. I had booked my class. I had set it up. We got the workshop going, and I do. Okay. Well, after the blood moon, the lunar eclipse, I had this feeling like, oh, it's time to leave. I'm like, no, I'm staying here. I love it here. And then it kept growing until one day I'm like, oh, I need to go. And then in the launch program, they explained our homework was to, put our idea on paper and make it happen. So I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I talked to you, we got it booked, we put it in, didn't have that much time to market, but I just knew it had to be, and it's all coming together.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it
so,
is very rapidly. It's amazing
okay,
how things line up.
so I got the message that it was time to go. So I'm like, I want to get some coconuts before I leave the island.
Only stories with Brian start like that.
Less than 30 seconds drive away, all of a sudden I turn, and the park, can you guess what was happening in the park?
Coconut harvesting.
Yes. So the city employees were going around trimming all the coconuts, coconut palms, and making them look nice. But they're also taking off the coconuts so they didn't fall on people, because that is kind of a dangerous thing in the tropics. If it gets windy, coconuts can fall and hit you in the head. Uh, so they're trimming all these coconuts. So there's literally piles of coconuts on the ground. How does it get any better than this? What else is possible? There's a couple times where I just instantly manifested things. Boom, right there when I was in Key West. Even on the way home, I'm getting information like, oh, I need to call this person. Boom, they call me. Like within seconds of it. It really recharged me. It was really amazing. Uh,
And just a reminder for everybody, we're all this potent of a creator if we allow ourselves to be. The only being in the universe that's powerful enough to stop you is you. And so if we can get out of our own way, magical things like that and instant actualization, and access they would call it the golden planet, is completely possible, where you could just hold out your hand and that bar of gold actualizes. I wonder, Brian, you should have a little part in your workshop about that. Let's all just focus on creating that little bar of gold in the middle of the class, and then we'll just split it up.
it, it, yes, but that's part of the
The advanced class.
not part of the class is to teach you that you don't need that bar of gold that you think you need.
Okay, well, you use another example. You could use a coconut, whatever you want to create. The idea is that what if time is simultaneous and everything that ever could be is in this ever present moment of now? And the only thing that you need to do to receive it is be in the state of allowance, because that really is the key. If you can be in allowance and acknowledge that this is already here for me to receive, it can be that instant actualization. We just get in our own ways and get caught up with the projections and expectations and the conclusions from other people about how things work. And really, it could be a lot simpler if we can get out of our own way and not by other people's point of view about it.
And over defining it, only having conditional acceptance or conditional allowance of abundance flowing to you. Well, I want a I don't know, like some Ferrari, it has to be red, it has to be this year model, it has to be, with this color interior. And they're like, so okay, you're like you've narrowed it down so you don't see something else that's really amazing over here. So instead of going, I want something that I want a car that's going to fit my needs the best and make my heart sing. Well, I instantly, I don't know if that's over defining it, but I'm like, I know what I want, and it showed up. Two
Well,
times in recent
yeah.
times with near zero resources, I manifested a vehicle.
Well, and the first time in Hawaii was amazing. Someone's like, hey, basically the conversation was, oh, I need to get around. Hey, would you like a car? Yes, I'll have that, please. And someone gave you a Prius, which is where you love that type of car that you have now, and you manifested a Prius that was really affordable.
Yeah, so
That's
I
the
was
Cliff Notes
working
version.
on a farm and I hopped in this Prius and it was exactly what I wanted. And I sat down. I'm like, this is mine. I didn't make it significant. I didn't go, oh, I need to have this car. I just like, this is mine. I sent up that rocket of desire. And within a little bit of time, they're like, well, we're thinking about getting rid of the Prius. And I ended up doing a work trade for it, just a few projects, and it was mine. And having a vehicle. So I've traveled a lot, and I don't necessarily need a hotel room. I can sleep pretty much anywhere. And oftentimes you would never know I'm sleeping there. Thank you, Uncle Sam, for training me so well as a Marine and giving me the skills to survive. But yeah, like that, I have equipment or techniques that I can sleep somewhere and you'd never know I'm sleeping there. And
Well,
I've found ways to, again, hygiene with very limited resources and be, look professional. That's what was demanded of us in the Marines. But having a vehicle makes all the difference in the world. It gives me the freedom of movement. So when I got a car in Australia, completely changed my experience for the better. When I got a car in Hawaii, completely changed my experience for the better. Every time I've had the, well, I drove my car down to Florida and I put on, what was it, 4,181.9 miles in this road trip, all driving by myself, sometimes 15 hours straight. Uh, it's just amazing to know I can go anywhere I choose. And it was such an amazing experience. But
just one comment on the sleeping thing. When we were at the that Shaman conference a couple of years ago, Brian had like this weird hammock thing. I mean, it was a regular hammock, but the way that it would work was like waterproof. And he got in this thing and just like spun around during a rainstorm. He's like completely dry inside. I'm like, this is like, I've never seen anybody sleep like this. Like he really could be like up in a tree somewhere and people would have no clue where he is. But before we get to the Florida Keys, just touching on the Prius story, I think it's equally cool how you manifest the sale of the Prius and work through everybody telling you this is impossible. Because this is what he's saying, like this, these rockets of desires and these things, like just stating that something is so. It's almost like Brian has this like mind manipulation ability that the people that are telling him this is impossible, he's like, well, is it really? And he just moves through it. So why don't you tell the story of the Prius being sold at the end,
um, what,
if you can?
what
Oh,
part of that?
oh, specifically like the
Oh,
title bureau.
buying the Prius.
No, no, selling it before you left Hawaii when it had to happen, and they were saying you had to have an appointment like weeks out and all that stuff.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
it's yeah, that's like the coolest thing. And then that what before we get to that, she was just saying she's an expert at manifesting close parking spaces wherever I go. Everything else will come to me with ease and joy and glory. You got it, sister. And really, like when I'm parking somewhere, sometimes I'll ask the entities. I'm like, hey, entities, how could you help me facilitate like a parking spot and just like making it so you don't even need entities, so you just manifest the parking spot. But yeah, if you tell that story, I just think it's a great example of someone saying this is impossible, you can't do this can't happen. You go, well, can it? And just charming your way through, manifesting your way through to a new possibility.
Yeah, it's that divine will. I will it to be this way, and I won't accept anything else or anything less. Uh, so I had my car up for sale, and it was really hard. Do I sell my car and then I'm kind of stuck without a vehicle, or do I leave and then try and sell my vehicle after I leave, and try and have friends handle it? So it was like really like what's gonna come first? How is this gonna go down? Didn't really receive that many offers on it. Then all of a sudden, in the last day, the guy's coming out. The day after I left, I believe it was, and it just like everything came. But to get it sold, he wanted to have a safety check, the safety check, uh, or they have to inspect your vehicle to make sure it's safe and it, you pay the right people and bribe the right official or whatever. It's really stupid. The safety check in Hawaii is absolutely worthless. You can go to places and just get waved through and it does nothing. And there's these cars that really aren't safe. They're falling apart. They're such beaters, but nobody cares. However, you have to have it's just a political hand waving stunt, and it's really terrible. It's a hassle to the people. So the guy said he wanted it safety check. but to be able to pass the safety check, the windows were tinted too dark. So I was going to have to get the windows retinted. So I was calling around all my connections, see if anybody knew one that would just wave me through. And I finally found a place. One of my connections told me, "Hey, this is the place to go." So I went. The guy, didn't care about the tint, but there's a crack in the windshield. He's like, "No way I can pass that." I'm like, "Oh, come on. There's got to be some way. I've seen cars with barely any windshield in it so cracked up." He's like, "I can't do anything about it." Uh, so I was able to get the window repair people to line up that day and get the windshield done, have the guy come out, buy it, and well, get the safety checked. So it just all lined up. Oh, and then I didn't have the title.
Yeah, that's the part of the story that
That
was
that
really
was the
like
part I
mind blowing.
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
because it's like during the height of COVID, and they're like, "Oh, you need like make an appointment 3 weeks out," and you're like, "I'm leaving tomorrow."
Yeah. So since everything was shut down, I didn't get the title transferred over in my name. So in order to sell it, I had to get it transferred in my name. So I went into the DMV and they told me, "Oh no, you need an appointment and we're booked 3 months out." I'm like, "Well, I'm flying out tomorrow and I need this title changed over right now." And they're like, "Nope, sorry, we can't do it." But then I was finally able to go, "No, I really need this. I don't care about bureaucracy. I need this done now." And that I just willed it into existence, accepted nothing less, and it happened. It just all that came together to happen. And then I went into my next Prius purchase. So I took that money, and then right as it hit, I found the Prius I wanted. There was two options. There's one that was a year, uh, no, 2 years younger than mine, or one that was 5 years younger than mine. Yeah, 5 years. And the one was like $8,000, and it was the 2011. And then the one that was a 2009, they wanted $4,000. I'm like, okay, well, if I can get it for three, okay. So I went in there. I'm like, okay, he's like, well, would you like to put an offer in? I'm like, yeah, three. Oh no, 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 we can't do that. It's so low. We can't move on it at all. And we might be able to get down $100 or so, but I'm like, okay, I'll check back in later. The other one was $8,000, and I called the guy and asked if he could move around on the price, but he didn't get back to me. So I just started driving out there. I was almost there, and the guy got back to me and said, "Oh no, we can't come down on that price. It's, we just lowered the price, and we can't do that." I'm like, "Oh well, I'll come out and look at it, but I'm not interested." So I got there, I looked at it. He's like, "Oh, okay. So what offer would you like to put in?" Well, I already told you 4 grand. And so for the other one that was eight, I said, tried to tell him, "Hey, I have one that's a similar year, similar mileage. I can go for that one for three, or I'll pay four for this one." And so I told the guy, I'll pay four for it." Well, let me talk to the manager. So he goes into manager. Manager comes back out. He goes, "Well, no, I can't do that, but why don't you take it for a test drive and see what you think of it? I'll get back." And the guy goes, "Well, how did you like it?" I'm like, "Well, it is exactly what I love about a Prius, and I love it." The guy goes, "What would you like to pay for it?" Uh, 4 grand. He goes, "Well, no, I can't do that. Here's this value, that value, that value, that value. There's one for 4,500 or 40. It was like 45, almost 46." And I said, "I can do 46." And he looks down and goes, he had this look on his face. He goes, "Could you do 47.50?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Okay, I'll do 46." I'm like, "Okay, thank you. I'll get everything set up and come back." And as I turn my back on him and start walking away, he goes, "Oh, wait a second, wait a second. What could I sell it to you for that you can walk out with it right now? 4 grand?" And the guy goes, "Okay, sold." The other guy, the original salesman, just like turned around, like cracked up laughing, like, "Oh my God, really?" You did that? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, so it's that just divine will. I'm doing this, but you have to be ready to walk away.
Yeah, just a couple comments. Angela was commenting, "Oh my goodness, I haven't seen you guys on here for so long. I really miss learning and listening to you guys. We do plan to be on a little bit more frequently, but Brian, I think you might have to shave for her. I don't know. Oh my goodness, I'd say nice beard, Brian, but unfortunately, for some odd reason, beards anger me. I don't know why, but it's strange. Maybe Brian has a clearing for that because really, like, we
Yeah.
sometimes will
Okay.
associate things like that with traumas and things.
Yeah, not to go too deep, but truth. Who with a beard did something to hurt you? We don't need to answer that now, but get a hold of me later and we can try and get to the bottom of why beards trigger you or who with a beard did what to you at some point in time, this life or other. Uh, so yeah, if you have an intense trigger and you don't know where it comes from, typically there's something subconscious going on, and it could even be past life.
Yeah. But the willingness to look at it hopefully will allow you to still watch the stream and not have to click off because of Brian's beard. I even have a beard now, but mine's not as obnoxious as Brian's. No,
Uh,
when he came in today and I saw him in person, because like the mustache, you can't really see it as well on camera. But man, this thing almost has like that evil villain mustache look, where it has like the little curvatures. It's amazing. But good evil villain, of course. The Loki, the little trickster spirit.
yeah.
Okay, so we wanted to for if you haven't started from the beginning of the stream, we talked about the Spark of the Phoenix, which is a class Brian created. We kind of talked a little bit about an example of overcoming uh, limitations and whatnot. But we also wanted to get to Brian's recent trip down to the Florida Keys and Florida in general, and his little walkabout that he took because he went to some amazing nature spots that uh, had a really cool energy that you told me about already. But I'll let you tell about it. Oh,
So
oh,
my cell phone was that?
no, Angela made a comment. So she was like, "Yeah, I have no idea where it comes from, but I grew up with no males in her family." She already posted it, she a typo or whatnot, in her family of three females. But I had stuff come up for me, and then we'll get onto the story that I didn't remember at all, and it wasn't until like way later with some work and something triggering and asking the questions and taking a deep dive that some memories started popping and things like that. So you might not have had anybody in the family, but maybe it could have been a teacher or a teacher's aide, a substitute. It could be anybody who might have been mean or caused a trauma that then has this triggering effect. But really, Brian's real skilled, or I'm skilled at doing like a facilitation to get down to what the root of that might be. With that
Or
being said, oh, go ahead.
or a horror movie. If the villain or something had a beard, as you know, if you watched it as a kid, your parents were like, "Oh, they're too young to understand." If you're watching a horror movie where this guy with a beard was going around hacking people up, that would put that right into your subconscious
Yeah.
mind and create that aversion to it,
Or
potentially.
my son Oliver, one time he snuck downstairs and I had the movie Leprechaun on. If anybody knows that movie, it's like a horror movie with this leprechaun that like just kills people. It's not a kid movie at all. But he's like hiding, and like this poor kid is hiding watching this movie, and I don't realize it. And like the leprechaun like reaches through a tree and like rips part of someone's face off or something like that, and he's like so terrified, and now he hates leprechauns. So like, who knows if 10 years from now, 15 years from now, he even remembers that. But there could be an event that we don't remember that could be, the the flow of energy that causes something to come up in our world and trigger us. Oh yeah, and then that says like that's a creepy ass movie. But I love that movie for some reason. I just like the whole series. It's like one of those things that you it's one of those things that you don't really want to admit that you like, but I haven't seen them all yet, but I have them
I
all.
have a strong feeling of garbage in, garbage out. I don't watch horror movies, never have, because garbage in, garbage out.
No, my line of
And
work sometimes it's like training, man. You never know what you're going to run into in a house clean. You got to be prepared, find that four leaf clover and all that.
a lot of people that I've worked with that have attachments or something, they get into the horror movie and you start resonating at that frequency of fear, and it throws up red flags and calls some nasties in. So you have a visceral rage against Mother Teresa. So, okay, what do you know that is beyond the mainstream narrative of what was going on in India and what she may have been covering up or hiding? There's a lot of human trafficking going on, and anytime you have orphanages or foster systems, a lot of kids disappear out of the foster system for some very unsavory purposes. And not even just sexual, we're talking oftentimes organ harvesting or adrenochrome. This was a major issue in Hawaii. So, what was going on behind the scenes in India that she either turned a blind eye on or was actively covering up, or
Yeah.
what are
And,
you aware of that is not in the mainstream narrative?
and there's something from Access for people who are humanoids, where the people who are like always doing different things, and you have to do like 20 things at a time just to feel normal and all that. One of the things that pisses humanoids off more than anything is a truth with a lie attached. So someone could be telling you something, but there's like a lie attached to it. Like, oh, I'll do that for you, but they really have no intention, or Mother Teresa was healing the sick, but really was she, or whatever the case is. That will trigger a humanoid a lot. So if things anger you and it doesn't seem like there's a good reason, then there might be asked a question, well, truth, is this a truth with a lie attached? And what is that lie that is getting under my skin so much? And then Amber actually said she actually didn't treat sick people either. So I
Yeah.
don't really know much about Mother Teresa. It was used as an example in one class once, and I repeated the example without really knowing the example I was using. And I triggered, I think, Amber at one point by using an example of Mother Teresa. But then I think we moved through it okay.
Yeah, I don't know full details. I've heard some rumors out in the wind of that there was beyond what was in the eye of the public in India. So you might not like her because you might be tapping into what's really going on. So lies cannot be told. So as we move into this new age where everybody's aware, everybody can feel things, you can't lie anymore. People on one level will just know when you're lying. And then on the next level up, which really isn't too far away, you'll be able to just hear their thoughts. And that's why you have to learn to clean the junk out. So if you're so thinking so loud, this is a lie, I'm trying to cover it up, they're going to hear you saying that and they're going to hear the truth. I have met people that literally can read my mind. They have gone inside my head and have literally read my mind and told me things that I had never mentioned to them ever, and they had no way of figuring any of it out.
Hmm.
Like details from childhood, or just I'm trying to think of things, but um, I actually had a girl once spy on me in my dreams and complain about a dream I had, and so that was wild. So there's a lot of possibilities out there. Some of them are interesting, and the things are coming. So in
Hmm.
this where we're moving to, you're just going to know things. So if someone's lying to you, you're just going to know, and you're going to go, "Why are you lying to me? That's actually very rude and annoying, and you're treating me like I'm stupid, but I know you're lying to me."
Yeah. And oh, we did move through it. And Angela was saying that lies are a huge trigger for me, but I know my reasoning for this. Lies are just in general, when people are just dishonest, it's just like authenticity is what we're all seemingly to seek, like stepping into our own unique voice in this world. And then when you have like a lie or something like that, it's like counterintuitive to the reason so many of us are here. So I can see why it would get under people's skin quite a bit. But anyhow, wow, oh my gosh, it's 12:51 already. So we better get
Oh,
to this
wow.
Florida Keys story because I do. Well, actually, the kids, I don't have to wake them up in the morning. Today was the last day of school. Thank goodness. So don't have to go through what is a parent, and I'm sure all parents can appreciate this. What are the most unfun things is trying to get your kids to wake up? At least my kids. I'm sure not all kids are as troubling as mine to wake up in the morning, but I'm very glad I don't need to bother with that anymore for this school year anyway. But anyhow, but to the Key West story. So you, well, I'll let you tell the story because I don't want to give the Cliff Notes version and skip over anything.
There's so many. I was hanging out with my friend Tim in Central Florida. He was living in Polk City. It was like a small little country town, far from anything that they put a highway through the center of, and then an Amazon distribution center and another distribution center. And so it was kind of a weird area. And I stayed there a little less than a week. I went to the Bach Tower. The Bach Tower was a garden, the Bach Tower Garden. It was just this beautiful place that was kind of a landmark, and went there as a child. Well, this time I went there and the like this bubble of absolute positivity, or like it just felt light or powerful, or I got there and it was just amazing. Like, okay, this doesn't feel anything like the whole area around. So then I went through the museum and he said he patterned it after the Tree of Life, and there was other occult knowledge that I saw in the architecture, or things that he had mentioned or said. I'm like, oh, so I get out there and the tower had occult symbols on it and other things like that. And I'm like, oh, this is not just a landmark clock tower, which I don't think it even was a clock tower. It is some ceremonial center where a ritual is done. I don't know what type of ritual or who's doing the ritual there, or if it's just some type of earth energy control like a pyramid. But it's very powerful. I then went down the hill and they had something, uh, I forget what, Haunted Hill or something like that. And then it explained that that hill was the burial of a very powerful chief back in the day. I can't remember the entire story about it, but I'm like, wow, okay, that explains, yes, in fact, it is an energy center that someone built some sort of device on top of. So that was pretty cool. So from there, I headed on down to the Keys. I was just gonna, between my Wild Success Art of Coaching and the launch program, business launch program, I'm like, well, I have about 10 days. I'm gonna go down, go on a little road trip, and then I'm like, well, I'll go down, spend a few days in the Keys, Middle Keys, Marathon, Isle of Marada, maybe down to Big Pine, but like middle to lower Keys, where it's a little bit more remote and a lot of great coral reefs, scuba diving, and just a lot to do in nature. Love it. Well, I got the message: just keep driving, keep driving, keep driving until you can't anymore. I hit the southernmost point in the United States, which I knew was there. But then I was there and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to stay here. And everything lined up where I found a place to stay. I found a place to work with my laptop and do, all my online classes and work with clients. I had an office on the beach where people could come for sessions. Unfortunately, no one took me up on that one. Uh, but then I kind of found myself almost like a guardian angel out on the street at night. I'd be just walking around the city and drunk people. There's always problems when there's drunk people. People getting lost, people getting hurt, people getting in fights, people trying to find themselves because they're not lost physically, but they're lost in other terms. And I worked with so many people. I coached so many people. I did healing with so many people. I broke up fights. It was, just kind of, I was that archetypical old man on the mountain giving, wise old man on the mountain giving advice. A lot of people would ask me the right questions and I'd be able to help them. So I'm like, I love this. I absolutely love this. If I could have a life where I don't have to worry about, so getting towards the end of it, my cell phone was stolen. And I searched for it a couple days and that was difficult, but I ran into a wizard. Uh, just an amazing man. This very powerful, very insightful. Met him on, he's a reader and he helped me try and find my phone. He was calling it with his phone. The guy answered and was just really terrible. And so that we ruled that out, but we started talking and I hung out with him for a couple nights and we discussed the secrets of the universe while having people come up to his booth and uh, they would get a reading with him and or just ask questions. They'd have problems and we'd coach them through it, do healing, we'd give them advice, and it was so amazing. I really got to hone my skills and kind of uh, do almost like street healing, rapid, almost first responder like healing sometimes because these people are in a very low state for really. So it was just really cool. Got to hang around, talk the secrets, spin yarn, talk the secrets of the universe, and help people. So that was really cool.
How does it get any better than
Uh,
that? Oh
yes.
yeah, free
Well,
coconuts. I forgot on your way home. That's how I got better.
yeah, a lot of things like that. But where was I going? Oh, the cell phone. So I didn't have a cell phone. I had a backup cell phone, only 3G. So the internet did not work on it. I took it into the AT&T store and they said, "Oh no, it's obsolete. It won't work. Do you still want a SIM card?" I'm like, "Yes, please give me a SIM card." And they're like, "Well, the phone won't work. You can put it in the phone just so you don't lose it, but it won't work with the phone." So I'm like, "Okay." A few days later, I powered it up and it actually worked with uh, calling and text. So they're just trying to sell me a new phone, very shady. However, it gave me the experience where I couldn't work. So I had a lot of people helping me, working together, coordinating to keep my class going, do my marketing material, do posts for me, edit my website. And I realized that's what I want. I want a team or a manager or somebody to handle all the paperwork, all the complicated techie stuff, so I can get handed the microphone and walk out on stage and teach people. I'm really, I can do the marketing stuff. I can do a lot of the video editing stuff and technical stuff, but what really makes my heart sing, what I'm passionate about is helping people, changing their lives, getting them to see what is actually possible. So, I'm hoping I can get to the point, Calvin Coils of wild success says you either pay in time or you pay in money. So I've been paying in time, doing all my work, but I want to get to the point where this organization will be so abundant that I can pass the abundance on to everybody around me. So everyone in my organization, Infinite Love, every organization, my organization touches everybody in those organizations. And then not only in the organizations and putting these events on, people in the classes. I want them to find their drive. I want them to find their passion and where they can let abundance flow to them. So that's what Metamorphosis is about. Letting the abundance flow, recognizing the abundance you have in your life, and recognizing that you don't need what you think you need. Uh, so many people want bliss, but they think they need that job to be able to get the next job, to be able to get the promotion, to get the house, to get the car, to get work really hard and build their investments up. So then eventually maybe they can take a trip to Australia. Once they retire, then they can take their lifelong trip to Australia. But before then, they have a heart attack, die, and never make it to Australia. All they wanted was bliss. So if you want to go to Australia, go to Australia. If you want to experience bliss, focus on the feeling of bliss. Don't think you have to jump through all these next logical steps. You can just actualize it now. Be open to it. Oh, is it knocking at my door in a different form that I don't recognize? So
Especially
that's
when it
what
comes to
I'm,
a state of being, because the state
yeah,
of being precedes doing. Like you have the bliss first, and then the universe will deliver you opportunities to express that being through doing. It's not you need to do the thing called go to Australia to be the thing they call blissful. That's putting something external to you, and you'll never be fulfilled in that case. So, what would it take for you to acknowledge that you are blissful and then get the opportunities through the universe to express and experience that bliss through doing?
You just got me off on this other tangent.
Okay,
Being
last
doing
yeah, last tangent, last tangent for the night because we're already over an hour. This is flying by because we have to make up for lost time a little bit.
yeah.
So
I
maybe
actually have to get
Saturday.
up for class in an hour and a half.
So you're
So
gonna take a nap?
Australia time, yeah, I'll probably take a nap and get back up for class.
So do you
Um,
want to do your this last tangent, or do you want to call it
oh
now?
yeah, absolutely. So as I was driving, I was listening to classes and clearing, and then all of a sudden I was so tapped in, being in the energy of Atlantis, the Florida Keys. Oh, I didn't get to mention. So Jay had mentioned the doing and the being and the doing and the being loop, and yeah, so all of a sudden it like went in, like I clicked into that loop, and I was like, okay, but if you are being, what are you being? You're being, you're doing being, and then in doing, you can be. So there is no difference. It's all one. So if you're sitting there being, you're doing because you're being, and being is a verb. It's an action. You're
Right.
doing.
Well, you are always being. The question is, if you are blissful, do you need something? Do you need something outside of yourself in order to achieve a state of being?
Well, it's not a still point and movement. It's all one thing. So you're constantly always doing and being by default. And so I went through all these different possibilities of yeah, that I just went, you're constantly playing this uh game of chess where you're trying to outsmart yourself and create this reality and experience something new and beyond. And I went like deep into this vision, and it was just really amazing.
Yeah, and realizing, I think you said it, that you're in the desert looking for yourself, but you're there the whole time.
Yeah, so you're walking around the desert looking for yourself, but you're right there. uh it's that singular point of consciousness having an experience with itself, and we're just here for the experience and trying to improve that experience and grow and learn and become better, more wholesome being, and find ourselves and love ourselves truer and deeper than we ever thought was a possibility.
Sounds like a beautiful note to wrap up on, if you're ready to wrap up.
Yeah, we can wrap up. We'll save more for tomorrow night.
Well, Saturday
Uh,
night, I think. Well, but we'll see. Maybe I'm not going to say no.
oh,
Well,
okay. I'm so far outside of time. I'm just
yeah. Well,
yeah.
well, the
I'm
class is tomorrow. Today's Friday now, since we were like we started at
okay.
midnight.
Yeah, today
So,
is
so,
right. Yeah.
so there is the class. So if you guys are interested, that is the. Oops, I have to take down the banner so you can see the bottom of this, so you can see the registration link. So you can go to emergenceofbeing.com/spark, but this is Brian's class, the spark, the rise, or the spark of the phoenix, rather. And it's going to be Saturday and Sunday at Emergence of Being, which is my center here in the North Olmsted area. And it will be done by a Zoom. And he will eventually have it on like an ever webinar type of thing. So if you miss it, if it doesn't feel right, you'll be able to buy it on demand, but then it won't be live for you. So if you can make it live, that is going to be amazing. But it's going to be at the center. I got a whole snack counter decked out for people to snack throughout the weekend. So all kinds of good stuff. And Nanette's
Uh,
just saying, thank you both for sharing your wisdom tonight. You're welcome. Thank
you're
you for
very
tuning
welcome.
in. And
Come
an
to class and
invitation.
you'll get a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of what I was talking about is going to be in the class, a lot of those concepts, and really kind of the nuts and bolts of how to make that happen. Uh, that the class I'm super excited about is a class I've composed over the last decades of my life, searching and looking for myself, and I figured out quite a few cool tips along the way.
Yeah. And the request to everyone out there, if what we've talked about tonight does sing to your soul, what I would say is don't share this video. Invite people to have an experience around what creating and offering, especially if you think the class would sing to somebody's soul. Be the invitation to people that you know that this could help change their lives. And there's so much more energy around that than just sharing it on social media. What would it take for you to really think, who do I know that truly could benefit, and let me extend an invitation to them to have an experience of Brian Hank or any of the other content on Emergence of Being, because that's what we're all really here to do, is to help you emerge into your being that you're
So
already
my
being.
friend Ava just popped on, and I we've been working together since well for a very long time, but we worked together in Maui and just had some amazing experiences. I helped clear a lot of beliefs for her and kind of opened up abundance to flow for her. Would you like to make a comment or talk about what you've experienced after working? And we could even do a separate video on this, but if you just want to throw up a quick little telling people what you've experienced, what you've gotten out of it. Uh, yeah, so anybody, please come. I really could use the favor. I really could use your help. I need as much feedback as I can get because you are going to help shape the Metamorphosis program. So the Spark of the Phoenix is the first core program of this. It's going to be kind of, you're going to find yourself, you're going to find out your dreams, you're going to define your dreams. What do you want in life? You are going to find uh, what holds you back. Like, is it a fear? Is it money? But money will always be the problem until it's not the problem. Then from there, we're going to put together a roadmap of how you can get there. And when you're in the class, online, in person, I'm going to be taking questions. We're going to bring people up. We're going to go through beliefs, clear them, and do our best to help everybody. Because if you have a question, oftentimes your example or your question will help somebody else in the audience or someone else that's going to watch it. So even if you can't be there for the whole class in person or live, please sign up. Please take it. You will get the you'll get the recorded video and access to that, so you can finish the class. So don't feel like it's all or nothing. You can take as much of it now as you can, uh, in person or live online. And then once the video's up, you're welcome to go back. If you take the class, you're welcome to access that recorded video so then you can kind of go through. If you want to go through it again, you went through it, you sat through the whole thing, it was too much, your mind kind of went to bush, go back, watch the replay.
And that does tend to happen sometimes in classes. Like I had like two foundations within like 3 weeks of each other, and I was liquid by the end of that. But yeah, so like sometimes you just reach this space of, we call it vortexing in access, where your awareness, your allowance has not caught up to your awareness. So like your world has expanded so much, but it's like trying to pour into a bottle with through a funnel, and it just not being able to do it fast enough. And one quick thing, for when you mentioned that money's the problem until it's not, there is a Facebook group, Emergence of Being. In there, I have a 5-part video series of me reading the book "Money's Not the Problem, You Are." It's an Access Consciousness book by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. So if you want to hear me read the book and do a little facilitation, that is in the group. So you can join the Emergence of Being group and check that out. It looks like your friend made the comment.
Yeah. So we worked and we cleared out so many blocks for each other. She works on a whole next level. One of the cool things about her is she speaks Hungarian, which she says is based off of ancient Sumerian. So I can tell her Mayan phrases and she'll go and pick it apart, like Mayan in Mexico, the ancient Mexicans, well, not the Mexicas, that's central Mexico, but kind of the Mayan empires. I told her a couple of the phrases and she goes, "Oh yeah, that makes sense because, if we were to say this, this, and this, it's a very similar language, like German to English. Wasser is water. So it kind of sounds the same. So she could do the same thing with ancient Mayan. She could do it with all these different languages, Hawaiian even. So some of these roots to these languages that don't make sense to a Latin-based or a Germanic-based language, she's going into some of these meanings, and it is just amazing. Super tapped in. I've always loved working. Uh, she is connected. I always get amazing information and uh, great friends. We always help each other out. It's really great.
Well, if she's
I'd
not
love to
camera
go
shy,
back.
we could have her on as a guest on one of our future upcoming episodes that we're going to plan.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about that. We just haven't gotten around to it. The time difference between here and Hawaii is, well, if we do midnight meanderings, it wouldn't be too hard at all. It would
Yeah,
be just like midnight meanderings when I was in Hawaii.
it
She
was just.
also wants to
Oh, go ahead.
team up with Infinite Love and put on classes. She has a lot of interesting
Uh, uh,
information.
Now she said, Brian is a wizard. I'm tapping into essence work. That sounds interesting. Cool. Awesome, awesome. Anything else? Any final thing? Are we tangented out? Not that you could
Well, I
ever.
mean, we did
You
hit
always
one
have a
limit,
tangents.
so it is pretty late.
Yeah, and you have a class in almost just an hour from now. So thank you
Yeah.
everyone for tuning in. Be the invitation for people to find more of us and share the video, invite people to participate, check out the class, and we will catch you probably Saturday night if all goes well. I'll schedule it correctly. So if you haven't already subscribed to the Stir Crazy Shamans YouTube channel, though we might move it over to our own channel eventually. I think we shall, maybe, but we'll fill that out. But anyway, until then,
Or
subscribe to Stir Crazy Shamans.
or Saturday morning. I'll see
Or
you at
Saturday morning.
9 a.m. at the center or
Oh,
online.
true. Yeah, maybe we won't do it Saturday because you have the class Sunday too. You might be that might be well. Either way, there will be another episode coming up in the very near future. So stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if or the Facebook pages. You can turn notifications on and get notifications about lives there too. Because as you can see, we didn't give any notice for this, and the notice we did give, I put the wrong date and said it was the 12th and not for today. So anyway, yeah, it's nice to meet you too, virtually. Shake, shake, shake. Virtual hug. Good to meet you. A friend of Brian's is a friend of mine. Cool. But until next time, we will catch you later. Bye.
Aloha.